الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا على القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل
وآل الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we are able to start our second session on Al-Mujaz fi Usul al-Fiqh by Ayatollah Subhani, and this is the intermediate level of principles of jurisprudence. In the first session, we gave some introductory points about Usul al-Fiqh, and then we reached Al-Amr al-Thalith, the third point about al-Wada', and that is about coining a term or a structure or a form for some meaning. In Al-Mantiq, you have studied that we have different types of dalala, different types of indication or signifying something. For example, sometimes we use terms, but sometimes we may not use terms. You remember in Mantiq, for example, you see a smoke. A smoke is a sign of fire. So a smoke is dal, fire is madlul. Means a smoke is signifying or indicating fire. Sometimes there can be a term. So we have dalala lafdhiya or dalala ghayru lafdhiya, linguistic or non-linguistic. At the moment we are concerned with dalalatul alfaz. So when a term refers to a meaning, there must be a relation between this term and that meaning. But because there are lots of terms and there are lots of meanings, why from this particular term we understand this particular meaning? Because a relation has been created between them. This relation is not natural. This relation is not, something that could have existed without some people choosing to connect the term to this meaning. Yeah, it's not like relation between fire and smoke, between sun and light. So, wada' is to allocate a term to a meaning. Ayatollah Subhani says it has been defined in different ways. One is جعل اللفظ في مقابل المعنى وتعيينه للدلالة عليه. To put a term for a meaning. So a term opposite to a meaning. So we say this term is for this meaning. And we identify it for referring to that meaning. Some people said, let's be more precise. Sometimes it's not that someone or a group of people or a council allocates the term to the meaning. Sometimes it happens by repetition. Okay, so sometimes it is ta'yin, sometimes it is ta'ayyun. Therefore, there is another definition. Some people have said نحو اختصاص لللفظ بالمعنى, a kind of a specific relation between the term and meaning. ارتباط خاص بينهما, a kind of a special relation between the two, which is result of تخصيصه به تارة. Sometimes you say this term is for this meaning. ويسمى بالوضع التعييني. We call this الوضع التعييني. When someone or some people or a body, anyway, there is a person or a group who are responsible and they say, for this meaning we use this term. They coin it. ويسمى بالوضع التعييني. وكثرة means sometimes it is ناشئ من كثرة استعماله فيه أخرى. أخرى means مرة أخرى. So sometimes it's because of frequent, repetitive usage of that term in this meaning. We call this الوضع التعيني. Okay? So we have الوضع التعييني and we have الوضع التعيني. Is it clear? So, the first definition was not very friendly with which type of وضع? The first definition. جعل اللفظ في مقابل المعنى وتعيينه للدلالة عليه did not include which one? الوضع التعيني. The one which is result of repetition was not very well understood from the first definition. It was more suitable for ta'yin. So if you want to be comprehensive, it's better to have a second type of definition which says a kind of a specific, a special relation between a term and meaning, which can be result of allocating the term to meaning specifically, or the term is, getting a special relation with this meaning because of frequent usage. Okay. Now, أقسام الوضع. This part is a little bit difficult, and I need your attention for this part, especially the fourth type. So please be very careful about this type. أقسام الوضع. There are different types of وضع. Imagine you are واضع. Okay, imagine you are the one who is responsible for allocating terms to meanings. Sometimes you consider a general meaning, sometimes you consider a specific meaning. For example, sometimes you consider individuals, Zayd, Amr, Bakr. Sometimes you consider insan, kitab, shajar, hajar, which is general. Okay? Book, stone, trees, these are general, اسم الجنس. You have studied this in Safia. You see that all these sciences are very well connected. You cannot only learn some of them. It's very difficult. You need to learn all of them. So, the meaning that you imagine, you consider, can be a specific, particular, it can be general. Also, the term that you want to allocate, you can think of it in a very particular way, you can think of it in a general way. Therefore, there are two options in Wad, 2 options in Mawdu, which makes 4. So there are 4 types of options. Yes? When subject, for example, has 2 possibilities and predicate has 2 possibilities, it becomes 4. Yeah? For example, you know, say everything is either a book or non-book. Salam alaikum. Everything is either white or non-white. Then you have 4 options. Book, which is white or non-white, and non-book, which is white or non-white. That 2 in 2 becomes 4. So, please look at the text. By the way, I have also news for you that the book is being translated into English. And already 150 pages are done. So, inshallah, soon it will come. Is the good news or bad news?
Good news.
The good news. Okay. الوضع الخاص والموضوع له الخاص. There are 4 options. This is in your imagination. We are not saying that all the 4 exist. Yeah? We will see which one exists, which one doesn't exist. But these are possible to think, to consider, to imagine. الوضع الخاص والموضوع له الخاص. You imagine a general meaning or a particular meaning, and what you are allocating the term to it is also either general or particular, so 2 in 2 becomes 4. The first option, الوضع الخاص والموضوع له الخاص. Both are خاص. The second, الوضع العام والموضوع له العام. Both are عام. The third is, the first is عام, the second is خاص, the fourth is opposite. الوضع العام والموضوع له الخاص, or الوضع الخاص والموضوع له العام. Let us give you a... You cannot put the meaning that we say for these letters, huruf al-jar, for example, you know, in al-munaf, you know, they give you the meaning of these huruf al-jar. What is the meaning of men? What is the meaning of, for example, ilah, hatta, fi, lam, okay? The meaning that they give you is a name, is a noun. Yeah? ابتداء الغاية, انتهاء الغاية, تعليل, for example, ظرفية, سببية, yeah? These are the meanings that they give you. What is the difference between those meanings and these huruf al-jar, these terms? The difference is that those names or nouns that we use, like sababiyya, ibtida' al-ghaya, they are general. They refer to causality or, for example, you know, beginning or end in a general way. But when you are making sentences, we need a connection which is specific, which is particular between my journey and, for example, the place from which my journey started. So, Sirtu and Basra are 2 general terms in a sense. General not in the sense of opposite, not in the sense of kulli. I mean, they are ma'na al-ismi. They are giving you meaning which is by itself understandable. But you need a connection. If this connection by itself was also independent, there was no link. You say, Sirtu, Ibtida, Basra, doesn't make sense. Min is a special type of ibtida which is used for connecting. This is why in Usul al-Fiqh, especially, you know, the late Sahib al-Kifaya, he was one of the people who very much, you know, talked about this issue. al-ma'na al-harfi. He says there are terms that can be understood by themselves. They have independent meaning. We call it al-ma'na al-ismi, al-ma'na al-mustaqil. And there are terms that they cannot be understood unless in connection between other things. And this is why when you want to explain the meaning of men or fi or ila, you cannot really explain their meaning. You use another thing which has independent meaning to refer to their meaning. Otherwise you cannot use them instead of each other. So this is ma'na al-harfi. In philosophy also we use this. In philosophy, inshallah, later we'll talk about this. Wujud can sometimes be used as ma'na al-ismi, sometimes can be used as ma'na al-harfi. Okay? Sometimes it's something that you can understand by yourself. Sometimes you have to put in the connection and the context of different terms so that it can make sense.
Naqis, isn't it?
Pardon?
Like harfun naqis, which is, it can't be understood on its own. The huruf naqis, until you put some other thing with it. Huruf naqis. Similar to that?
Huruf naqis is not about the meaning.
I see.
This is about the meaning.
I see.
So sometimes the meaning is something that by itself makes sense, by itself can be understood, independently understood. We call it al-ma'na al-ismi. Sometimes it is something that by itself cannot be used. It's very particular. It has to be used in connection between other terms. We call this al-ma'na al-harfi. Okay? So let's go back to our point. When in any language they want to have some terms which can play this role of connecting other terms, like min, like fi, like ela, what do? They don't consider a particular case like my journey from Basra. It can be anyone's journey from any town. So what they consider is am. Al-wad'u amun. But what this is going to be used for is khas. Al-wad'u amun wal-mawdu'u lahu khasun. Is it clear? We are not going to coin the term by thinking about every single case. We imagine, we consider a general meaning, but we know that this is going to be used in those particular cases as a connection, as a link. Even it is not going to be like the term ibtida. The term ibtida is general. Al-wad'u amun wal-mawdu'u la idhan amun. But min, al-wad'u amun wal-mawdu'u la khasun. This is a very important point. If you have understood this, you have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Let me read for you from the text. إن كان الملحوظ عاما. If what has been considered is general, وَلَمْ يُوضَعِ اللَّفْظُ بِإِضَائِهِ, but the term is not coined for that general meaning. It's not like ibtada, and then you'd coin the term ibtada. No. You imagine general ibtada, but وُضَعَ لِمَصَادِيغِ ذَلِكَ الْعَامِ. But you coin the term for the instances of ibtida. فهو من القسم الثالث. This is from the third type. كالأدوات والحروف على ما هو المشهور. According to the famous view among scholars, al-adawat wal-huruf. Huruf here doesn't mean letter. It means huruf, like, huruf al-jar, huruf al-nasibah, this type of, things. This awamil that we have for ma'na al-harfi. Fal-wadi'u. The wadi' is the person or a group or committee, whoever is responsible for coining the terms. Ala hadha al-qawl, according to this view, qawl means opinion, view, yeah? Qawl means opinion, view. Wadi', according to this opinion, tasawwara. What has he done? He has imagined مفهومي الابتداء والانتهاء الكليين. The way I read for you is also to help you with your nahw. So if you are not sure why I read this, listen carefully so that you can analyze. تصور مفهومي الابتداء والانتهاء. This mafhumay is muzaf, therefore nun is deleted. It was mafhumayn, yeah? Mafhumay al-ibtida'i wal-intiha al-kulliyayn. So, the wazir has considered concepts of ibtida and intiha which are kulli, which are universal. So what he has considered is a universal concept. ثم وضع لفظة من وإلى لمصادقهم الجزئية, but has coined the term min and ila for their particular instances التي يعبر عنها بالمعاني الحرفية, which we call them المعاني الحرفية, opposite to المعاني الاسمية. المعاني الاسمية are general, you can understand them by themselves, but harfi is particular, you cannot understand, and it has to be used between other things as a connection and link. وَإِنْ كَانَ الْمَلْحُوظُ خَاصًا. This is the fourth type, which is opposite to the third. The third was al-wad'u amun wal-mawdu'u lahu khasun. Now we want to see, is it possible to have the fourth type? We can imagine, by imagination there are four possible options. But is this really possible to exist? You can imagine, but do we have such thing? That al-wad'u khasun wal-mawdu'u lahu amun. You have a meaning which is particular, but you call for a general thing. They say it's impossible. Okay? إن كان الملحوظ خاصا ووضع اللفظ للجامع بين هذا الخاص والفرد الآخر فهو من القسم الرابع. If what has been considered is particular, but the term is coined for something which is inclusive of this particular thing that you have imagined and other particular things, so something which is common, something which is universal, this is the fourth option. But is it possible? No. We cannot imagine a particular thing and coin the term for something which is universal. Okay? Al-ma'ruf إمكان الأولين ووقوعهما في عالم الوضع. What is famous is that the first two types are possible and they actually exist. إمكان الأولين means possibility of the first two types. ووقوعهما, not only they are mumkin, but they are also real. You remember difference between imkan and wuqu? Yeah? For example, Is it possible to have a human being with 5 heads? It's possible. There is no contradiction here. But do we have such human being? No. It's possible. Is it possible to have a sea of, for example, ink? Yes. But do we have? No.
Imkan and wuku.
So there's a difference between imkan and wuku. Sometimes something is mumkin and waqi'. Sometimes something is mumkin and not waqi'. But we cannot have something which is waqi' and not mumkin. Yeah?
Oh, that's clear.
And this is why they say أدل دليل على إمكان الشيء وقوعه. The best reason to prove that something is possible is its existence. Yeah? When something exists, it means that it's possible. Yeah? So, al-ma'rufu. This ma'ruf is not opposite to munkar. This ma'ruf means well known, well established. Al-ma'rufu imkanul awwalain wa wuqu'uhuma fi alam al-waqt. This is famous view that the first 2 types are possible and real in the world of wazn. Means in the universe, in the domain of coining the terms. وَإِمْكَانُ الثَّالِثِ. There is no doubt about the possibility of the third. What is the question? Is وقوع الثird. Yeah, and also possibility of the fourth. So possibility of the third is not questioned. Reality of it is questioned, but possibility of the fourth is also questioned. Yes.
On the third, وإنما البحث في وقوعه.
Yes.
So I don't understand. You gave an example. So why is there a bahs on the wuqu' of it? The third example you give from Basra ila Kufa ila Basra.
So, according to those who understand ma'na al-huruf like what we said, then it is waqi'.
Okay.
But if someone doesn't have that idea, then he struggles. You know, what can be an example for this? For us, it's waqi'. We don't have any doubt about it. Because we believe in ma'na al-harfi. You know, al-ma'na al-harfi was something that for earlier generations might not be very clear. As I said, you know, Akhund Khurasani, for example, in Usul very much invested on this, you know, or Mullah Sadra in philosophy very much, you know, referred to this, 400 years ago. But maybe if you go 1,000 years back, maybe it was not very clear for some people. Okay. So, وَإِمْكَانُ الثَّالِثِ. This imkan is atf ala imkanul awwalain. Means al-ma'rufu imkanul awwalain, al-ma'rufu wuqu'ul awwalain, al-ma'rufu imkanul thalith. Okay, it's atf. Innama al-bahth. The only discussion that we have about the third is about fi wuqu'uhi, about its occurrence, whether it exists or not. We don't have any problem with its possibility. وَقَدْ عَرَفْتَ. And you have certainly known and learned that أَنَّ الْوَضْعَ فِي الْحُرُوفِ مِنْ هَذَا الْقَبِيلِ. So it means that it's waqi'. Okay? Ayatollah Subhani is very hopeful. He says, قَدْ عَرَفْتَ. You knew that the meaning in huruf is from this type. Okay? إنما الكلام في إمكان الرابع فضلا عن وقوعه. Who can translate this? Yes.
The discussion becomes about the possibility of the fourth, let alone it's happening. In the world.
We have problem even with its possibility, let alone its existence or its occurrence or happening. Okay? إنما الكلام في إمكان الرابع فضلا عن وقوعه. فضلا means let alone. Okay? فضلا. فالمشهور, what is famous among scholars, استحالة الرابع.
Mahal.
It's impossible. The fourth is impossible. Istihala means impossible, impossibleness, for example, and mustahil means impossible. Okay? Mustahil means impossible. فَيَقَعُ الْكَلَامُ فِيمَا هُوَ الْفَاظ. Now a question arises. We need a conversation here. What is the difference between the third and the fourth? Whereas the third is possible and has happened, the fourth is impossible and certainly has not happened. Yaqa'ul kalam means, a discussion arises here. We need to talk about this. Fima huwa. The discussion is about this question. What is the difference between the third حيث قيل بإمكانه والرابع حيث قيل بامتناعه? What is the difference between the third when it is said, where it is said it is possible, and the fourth which is said it's امتناع, means استحالة, means impossible? Clear? وجهه. Now we want to explain what is the difference. I think you can yourself explain the difference. What is the difference between the third and the fourth, based on what we have said?
In the third, there is a possibility of existence, but it might not exist. On the fourth, there is no possibility either.
So why? Why this is the case?
Yeah. Third one is al-wad'u al-am, and mawzu is khas. That's why. But the fourth one is mawzu and both are khas. That's not possible.
No, both are not khas.
Fourth one is wazul khas or mawzu.
No, in the fourth one.
In the fourth, waz is khas, mawdullah is am.
Mawzu, sorry.
So what is the difference? Yes.
I think it's that when you're using a particular to mean the general, since that particular is included in the meaning of the general, then it automatically takes the mind to the general. Whereas if you're using something general to mean a particular, because naturally the general is more general than a particular, then it is not known which particular you would mean by that.
So you are arguing for the opposite then. So then you are arguing that the third is not possible and the fourth is possible.
No, the opposite. No, I'm saying because you can use a particular to mean a general, because a particular is under a general. But
Okay. No, the question is this. In the third, we consider something which is general. Okay? But we want to coin the term for its cases. There's no problem. Because in the general, you can understand the cases. You can see the cases. General can act as a mirror for the cases. Okay? So there's no problem. But the particular cannot act as a mirror for the general. And if you say no, when I look at the particular, I leave aside all the particularities and I reach the general, so then this is al-was'ul am wal-mawzulah am. But if you remain at the level of the particular without going beyond, but then you want to coin a term for something which is general, it's not possible. Okay?
I was using the meaning and the term interchangeably.
Yes. Yes.
It's like giving a name of a specific tree for all trees, but the meaning itself is only for a specific type of tree. Is that what we're saying? For example, if we say a pine tree, that's a specific type of tree. But when we say pine tree, we mean all trees that are in existence.
So this is a as mawzula This is the first type.
No, was khas mawzula
No, because even palm tree is
Oh, we said pine.
Okay. So the third is possible because you can imagine something general like ibtida, intiha, and then say I want to use the term min for the cases, for instances of that general meaning. Okay? But the opposite is not possible, because if you only understand the particular, you cannot go beyond and then use the term for a general thing that includes that particular and other particulars. If, again I repeat, if you act in two stages, you think of the particular, then from that particular you come up with a general concept, and then you coin the term for that general concept, that's not a problem. But then this is the first type. This is al-waz'u al-'am wal-mawzu lahu 'am. Okay? So, wajhuhu. Wajh means what? Wajh means face. But here, wajh means the reason.
Evidence.
The explanation, the justification is this. أن الملحوظ العام في القسم الثالث, that general meaning that you have imagined in the third type, له قابلية الحكاية, has the potential, the ability of hikaya. Hikaya means showing, reflecting masadiqihi, its cases, its instances. Can be a mirror for khas, not vice versa. Not vice versa. فَلِلْوَاضِعِ أَنْ يَتَصَوَّرَ مَفْهُومَ الْإِبْتِدَاءِ وَالْإِنْتِهَاءِ. The one who is coining the terms can imagine, can consider the concept of ibtida, beginning, the concept of intiha, ending, وَيَضَعْ اللَّفْظ لِمَصَادِقِهِمَا, considers the meaning, which is general, but allocates the term to its instances, which the general concept refers to, reflects. تحكي عنها مفاهيمهما. وهذا بخلاف الرابع. But this is unlike the fourth. In the fourth, you want to use khas as a mirror for am. This doesn't work. Khas cannot be a mirror for am. هذا بخلاف الرابع. فإن الملحوظ, what is imagined, what is considered, لأجل تشخصه بخصوصيات يكون خاصا. What you have imagined is a particular thing which has become an individual because of some particularities, like a particular human being or particular ibtida, particular intiha between Sirtu and Basra, between Sirtu and Kufa, is a particular. So it has become khas. ليست له قابلية الحكاية عن الجامع بين الأفراد. Doesn't have the potential or the ability, the capacity for reflecting what is common between those individuals. حتى يوضع اللفظ بإزاي, so that we can coin the term for that jami', for that common thing. وبالجملة, I think we had this in Bab Hadi Ashar. What is the difference between بالجملة and فالجملة? Remember بالجملة and فالجملة. فالجملة is when you refer to some cases. Okay, fil jumla. For example, something may have 100 examples. You mention 1, 2, 3. This is fil jumla. You don't want to be comprehensive and exhaust everything. Fil jumla is like a kind of, example. Bil jumla means you have said something and now you want to summarize all of it and say it in a different way, for example. It's like in other words, for example. Al-ammu. Now we want to, whatever we said, we want to summarize it about the reason why the fourth is not possible. Al-ammu yaslah لأن يكون مرآة لمصادقه الواقعة تحته. Do you follow me? يصلح لأن يكون مرآة لمصادقه الواقعة تحته. Okay? Because تحت is ظرف. تحته. Has the ability of being a mirror for instances which fall under it. ولكن الخاص لأجل تضيقه وتقيده لا يصلح أن يكون مرآة للجامع بينه وبين فرد آخر. But the particular, because of its being very narrow and limited, cannot be a mirror for what is common between itself and another khas. This is something that we can also take it to social relations. The only people who can represent a group, a community, a nation are the people who are not khas. They have been able to leave aside their own particularities and reach what is common. Yeah? If you want to be Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so with all your particularities, the way you, for example, prefer your, food to be, your dress to be, your, bed to be, then you cannot represent all people. If you want to represent all people or all your community or all your nations, you have to be at the level which is common, which means that you have to leave aside all the particularities. Is it clear? This is a very important point. And this is why sometimes I say, if you become selfless, then you can be united with every self. But if you have your own self and ego, then even you cannot get united with another person who has ego. Yeah? Two people who have egos, they cannot get united. But if someone is selfless and ego, he can get united with people. But they may not get united with him, but he gets united with them. Okay. تقسيم الوضع بحسب اللفظ الموضوع. Another classification. In case someone is not confused already, we try to confuse him now. So, but this is less confusing. There are two types of allocating terms to meanings. Sometimes waz is shakhsi, sometimes it's naw'i. فإذا كان اللفظ الموضوع, I go to the third line after تقسيم الوضع بحسب اللفظ الموضوع. Classification of the was according to the term which has been coined. إذا كان اللفظ الموضوع متصورا بشخصه. If the term which is coined is imagined by itself, فيكون الوضع شخصيا. Shakhsi means personal. But here maybe it's not good to say personal, because person is good for those who have understanding. So we can say individual, for example. Okay? Particular, individual. إذا كان اللفظ الموضوع متصورا بشخصه. If you have imagined the term which you are going to use by itself. Now, so far we were talking about the meaning. Now we are talking about the term. If you have imagined the term by itself, فَيَكُونُ الْوَضْعُ شَخْصِيًّا. We call this type of word shakhsi, individual. كَتَصَبُّرِ لَفْظِ زَيْد بِشَخْصِهِ. We are not talking about meaning of Zayd, we are talking about lafz. I have imagined a meaning, which is this boy, for example, which is just born. For this boy, now I want to give a name. What name I'm going to give to this boy, for example, Zayd? Have I imagined the same name that I'm going to give him by itself? Yes. I have imagined the name Zayd, and I'm going to give the name of Zayd to this person. Sometimes it's not like this. أما إذا كان متصورا بوجهه وعنوانه. Sometimes the term that we are going to use from now on for this meaning is not considered by itself. It's considered as a title, as a general title. For example, we say for any doer we use اسم فاعل, فاعلون. For example, the place in which some verb, some action has happened, we use maf'al, like mashhad, maqtal. You don't need to consider all these cases of اسم فاعل, اسم مفعول, اسم مكان, اسم zaman, اسم الآلة. No. You consider a general cast, a general, a structure, qalib, cast, and you say this cast is going to be used for ism fa'il, the doer, or for the object, or for the place, for the time, for the instrument. Is it clear? أما إذا كان متصورا بوجهه وعنوانه. But if the term, the lafz, is considered, is imagined, is conceived, not بشخصه بوجهه. It's not بشخصه, it's بوجهه, according to a general title, okay, a common concept. فيكون الوضع نوعيا. كهيئة الفعل الماضي. When whoever is the wazi, we don't know who is wazi of Arabic language. There is a discussion who is the one who invented Arabic language. Some people say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some say Ya'rib ibn Qahtan. So there are different views. Whoever started this language said, for example, this cast fa'ala is for fi'l mazi. It can be dharaba, can be jalasa, can be qa'ada, can be qama, can be waqafa. Yeah? So have you considered all these cases one by one? No. You considered a general title of fa'ala. So this word is called waz'a shakhsi or naw'i? No. Naw'i. No means type. أما إذا If it is very easy, I am sorry I repeat too much. Maybe it's easy for you, just I want to make sure everyone understands,
So nawi you mean is what? Nawi?
No'i
Yeah.
means general,
Gen-
typical. Maybe you can say typical or general. أما إذا كان متصورا بوجهه وعنوانه فيكون الوضع نوعيا كهيئة الفعل الماضي. هيئة means the cast, the structure of the past tense verb. Past tense verb. التي هي موضوعة, which has been coined, this cast, this structure, فعل has been موضوعة, means coined لانتصاب الفعل إلى الفاعل في الزمان الماضي. For saying that this action has happened in the past tense by this agent. ولكن الموضوع ليس الهيئة الشخصية في ضرب أو نصر مثلا. It's not that we have coined ضرب separately, جلس, نصر separately. No, once we made a general, decision. We said, whenever we want to say something has happened in the past, we say something from any root, but on the structure of fa'ala. Is it clear? So, al-wad'u shakhsiyun or nu'iyun? Nu'iyun. Shakhsi is like you consider something, and for the same thing you have one term. Like, say, this place is called, for example, London. This person is called Zayd. بل مطلق هيئة فعله في أي مادة من المواد تحققت. So what we have coined is general structure, general cast of fa'ala from any root. Madda is like jalasa, qa'adaya. Madda, you have madda and you have hayat.
It's like general rule. It is a general rule.
It's like a general rule. Yes. وَبِذَلِكَ يُعْلَمْ أَنَّ وَضْعَ الْهِيئَةِ في الفاعل والمفعول والمفعال. مفعال is for اسم الآلة. مفعال, like مفتاح. In Sarf, have you studied Sarf? اسم الآلة. مفتاح means the instrument for opening, means key. Why they call miftah miftah? Because by miftah you can open. Mafatihul Janan. What does it mean?
Keys of Jannah.
Keys of heavens. Keys of gardens. Okay? وبذلك يعلم أن وضع الهيئة في الفاعل والمفعول والمفعال هو نوعي لا شخصي. It's typical and not individual or particular. Okay, now as a gift for you, we have something simple. Okay? Are you ready?
Did you say no iyo la shakhsiyya? What does it actually mean, no iyo la shakhsiyya? Can you tell me that again, please?
Sometimes you consider a term, a very particular term, and then allocate it to a meaning. Sometimes you consider a general, for example, a structure, and then you coin this for lots of instances. So there is this difference between the two. Okay. You are welcome. Al-Amr Rabi'. And this is the last thing for today. I know you have already maybe become tired, I don't know. But this is the last thing for today. Don't insist on teaching more. Of course, I'm ready to teach you more, but I'm just joking. So, you may have seen in many books, they use this term, الدلالة التصورية, الدلالة التصديقية. In mantiq, especially in usul, in fiqh, in tafsir, but more than any subject in usul al-fiqh, you hear this term. الدلالة التصورية, الدلالة التصديقية. If you listen just for 2 minutes, then it's inshallah easy. Just listen carefully 2 minutes, then we go to the text, inshallah. Sometimes you listen to or read a sentence, for example. For example, someone says or someone has written and you read that ذهبت يوم الجمعة إلى المسجد لإقامة صلاة الجمعة. On the day of Friday, I went to masjid to say the prayer of Jum'ah. When you read or listen to this, all the meanings of these words and the sentence come to your mind. But you are not sure whether that person meant this or he didn't mean this. Maybe that person just was joking. Maybe that person was just exercising, his Arabic. Maybe that was a parrot that just was imitating. So, ulama, to distinguish between two types of meanings, they have come up with this terminology. Ad-dalalatu tasawwuriyya is something that comes to your mind automatically. As soon as you know the meaning of these terms, you know the language, grammar, then it comes to your mind. You can conceive the meaning. But ad-dalalatu tasdiqiyya is to be able to say that this is meant by the speaker or the writer, and this needs few conditions to be met. You have to have few conditions. One is that the one who has said these things must be aliman bil-lugha. He must know this language. If someone doesn't know the language and he says something, you are not sure he meant it. Okay? Whenever someone whose language, who is not native, for example, if says something and you feel insulted or offended, please don't feel insulted, because maybe he didn't mean it. You have to be careful. Don't think that he is meaning to insult you. Because the first thing for ad-dalalatu tasdiqiyya is that that person must be aliman bil-lugha. The second thing is that that person must be fi maqam al-bayan. He has the intention of speaking and communicating to you. Okay? Maybe there are people who are just practicing, like they're speaking to themselves. Maybe there is taqiyya. Anyway, maybe he's not trying to give you any message. Maybe he's just playing with the words. He knows the language, but he's, exercising, for example, playing, whatever. The third is that he must be serious, not just joking. Of course, sometimes, even when they joke, they are serious in a sense. They mean it, and therefore they make a joke. But sometimes, no, they don't mean it. Okay? And the fourth is that there must be no evidence against what is understood from the text. Sometimes there is an evidence which shows us he didn't mean this, he meant something else. Like Mujaz, for example, it was metaphoric. So, ad-dalalatu tasawwuriyya is something that automatically comes to your mind as soon as you know the language. No matter who said this, was it a machine, was it a bird, was it a human being who is sleeping or drunk or whatever, ad-dalalatu tasawwuriyya comes to mind. Yeah? But ad-dalalatu tasdiqiyah, to say that this is meant, needs 4 conditions. The speaker or the one who produced this text must know the language, must be meaning to talk, to communicate to you, must be serious, and must not be putting some evidence which would suggest otherwise, suggest other meanings. This is ad-dalalatu tasdiqiyya. Okay? تنقسم الدلالة اللفظ إلى تصورية وتصديقية. فالدلالة التصورية هي عبارة عن انتقال الذهن إلى معنى اللفظ. الدلالة التصورية is that your mind moves towards the meaning of the term بمجرد سماعه, just because of hearing the word. Mujarrad here means just because of this. Mujarrad سماعه means without anything else. Just by hearing the word, the meaning comes to your mind. Even if it is said by a machine, the meaning comes to your mind. وَإِنْ لَمْ يَقْصِدْهُ اللَّافِظ, the one who speaks, who produces the laugh, he didn't mean it. For example, you hear this from Sahi or Na'im. Who is Sahi? From Sahw. Sahw means someone who
Forgets.
says something by mistake. Sahw means like mistake, making mistake. Or Na'im,
Sleeping.
sleeping. Sleeping. أما الدلالة التصديقية فهي دلالة اللفظ على المعنى مراد للمتكلم. عفوا، على أن المعنى مراد للمتكلم. على أن المعنى مراد للمتكلم ومقصود له. The terms indicate that the meaning is meant by the speaker. He meant this. He intended to say this. فالدلالة الأولى تصوري تحصل بالعلم باللغة. As soon as the one who listens to this or reads knows the language, the meanings come to his mind or her mind. You just need to know the language. If you don't know the language, it doesn't come to your mind. You have to know the language. Yes?
What's the difference between Murad and Maqsood here? Both
The same.
The same.
Murad and Maqsood are the same.
So why they use twice then?
So that if someone doesn't know Murad, he understands. فالدلالة الأولى تحصل بالعلم باللغة. الأولى is which one? تصوري. الأولى is female for أول. الأول والأولى. Yeah? أولى is female for أول. Okay? فالدلالة الأولى تحصل بالعلم باللغة. وأما الثانية الدلالة التصديقية, to be able to understand that this is meant. Many times people say something and we take it in a negative way. But are you sure he meant it in this way? Maybe he didn't mean this. So you have to take easy. Take it easy. أما الثانية فتتوقف على أمور. الدلالة التصديقية, to be able to affirm that this is what he meant, depends on أمور, on few things. أولا أن يكون المتكلم عالما باللغة. the one who speaks should be person who knows the language. أن يكون في مقام البيان والإفادة. He is in a position of communication. He's not sleeping, he's not drunk, he's not, mindless. He wants to communicate. ثالثا أن يكون جادا لا هازلا. He's serious, not making jokes. Hazil, yes. Hazl is opposite to jed. رابعا ألا ينصب قرينة على خلاف المعنى الحقيقي. The speaker does not put evidence against the real meaning of the term. For example, he says, رَأَيْتُ أَسَدًا فِي الْحَمَّامِ. When he says فِي الْحَمَّامِ, in the bath, you realize that Asad here means not a lion. It means a brave person. Because he says فِي الْحَمَّامِ. If he says رَأَيْتُ أَسَدًا فِي حَدِيقَةِ الْحَيْوَانَاتِ, then it's a real lion. But I said فِي الْحَمَّامِ رَأَيْتُ أَسَدًا فِي الْحَوْزَةِ. So this fil hawza means that this is not a lion. Yeah? There's qarina.
Yeah.
This qarina takes us away from the real literal meaning.
What does qarina mean?
Evidence.
Evidence.
Now we have qarina lafzi, qarina lubbi, yeah? Qarina sarifa. Okay. So when I tell you that you must do mubahisa, all these four exist. I know what I am saying. I know the English enough. I am in the position of communicating to you. I am serious, and I have not put any evidence that this is not meant. So you have to do mubahasa, okay?
We just didn't understand that bit. That's
Yes. So from next week I'm going to ask you with whom you did mubahisa and when did you do mubahisa. We will ask you a few times till inshallah this becomes a habit for you. Inshallah. So dalala tasdiqiyya is there.
sorry, this verse al-ifada is bil muqabil istifada.
Yes. Al-ifada means to
The one who can
benefit.
Yeah.
Istifada means to learn, to benefit from. So for those who, like adabul munyatul murid fi adabil mufid wal mustafid. Mufid is the teacher, mustafid is the learner. Mufid wal mustafid. Okay, I think we stop here. The next discussion is about haqiq and majaz, but we leave it inshallah for next week. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.